Good evening. Once again, this is the man Eighth. Uh, Back at you with another one. Just wanted to follow up on my previous video about um, the Super Bowl performance with Kendrick Lamar and the lyrics about 40 acres in a mule that has caused somewhat of a awakening of consciousness in the United States and throughout the world about what is this 40 acres and a mule. And as I said before in my previous video, um, it actually is 400,000 acres. The term 40 acres and a mule really minimizes what happened to African Americans, Black Americans, foundational Black Americans after the Civil War, which I want to touch on tonight, and something else called HR.40. There's that number again, the number 40. Um, HR.40. This is a study that was initiated by some Congress people in the past, and now some Congress people in the present. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts has reintroduced Bill HR.40, which will study the effects of slavery on the Black American population from 1619 to 1865, and really up until now. And it also will address when Africans were first brought into the Americas or this continent, which would be 1565 in what is known as the state of Florida, really by the Spanish. So HR.40, this bill is supposed to cost, I think, around $12 million to set up a commission to come up with proposals for reparations. That's fine, proposals for reparations. That's fine. But I think a very important thing, if they can get it passed, which I doubt they will get it passed through Congress, that those that stand on the side of truth, those that stand on the side of history, should really hone in on 40 acres and a mule in the bill, HR.40. Let that be a starting point, HR.40, 40 acres and a mule, what that means. 400,000 acres were taken back from African Americans after they were given this land via the executive branch. Abraham Lincoln, I'm sure, authorized it with his General Sherman. Okay. And approximately, according to some accounts, it was 40,000 freed slaves. In some other accounts, it was 18,000 families. So maybe it was just two-person per family. Maybe it was a husband and a wife, and maybe some of the husbands and wives had one child. And I can actually see that happening because it was just a war. You know, a husband and a wife were together. I can see that. I can imagine that. So 40,000 people on 400,000 acres of land. You know that the vision number is the number 10. So now the number, they can introduce into a bill or HR.40, the study, would be the amount or the value of the land that was once given to the 40,000 people over the 400,000 acres from Florida, Georgia, to the coastal lands of South Carolina. And I looked at it. And on average, 1 acre costs about $45,000 on coastal lands. Times $400,000 would be about $18 billion that was taken from the African American community back then in today's dollars. I think that's a good number to start with. That's a good starting point because it was first given to us by the executive branch, then it was taken away from us by the executive branch. And remember that approximately 40,000 black soldiers died in the Civil War fighting to make this the United States on the side of the Union Army. Approximately 200,000 black soldiers signed up to fight against the Confederacy. So these people earned the right to that land, the land of a former slave master that did not pay them for their labor. Now, picture that. The land was given to them, but really the land was theirs in a sense because they were never paid nor compensated for their labor. And they fought on the side of the Union Army to bring this country back into oneness. So African Americans were integral in making this country what it is today because we helped win the Civil War, but we're not compensated for it. Or compensated correctly for it. Even when soldiers were given what is called rations during war times, the black soldiers were paid less than the white soldiers. But they were all fighting in battle. They even had to fight to get in the army, to fight on the side of the Union, because there were, certain individuals, generals, and different soldiers that didn't think black soldiers had the courage, nor the guts, nor the wherewithal, nor the intelligence to fight on the field of battle and actually win. But they proved them wrong, as we always do. So I think in this bill, HR.40, whenever it is introduced, whenever it is brought up in Congress, 40 acres in a mule should be brought up with it. specifically the 400,000 acres that was taken back via the president or the executive branch by President Andrew Johnson, because he was pressured by basically, the white racists in the South to take back the land and give it back to the former slave masters, even though slavery had ended and they were no longer going to have slaves anyway to work the land. But they didn't want to have these free blacks owning that land and building their own towns and flourishing. So they did us a great disservice. And that number, just in terms of land value, would be $18 billion. Now, what we could have done with that land during that time, the value probably would be much more, but we were prevented from that new start. So this is a new start. If this bill gets brought up in Congress, HR.40, the study for reparations for foundational Black Americans or African Americans or Black Americans, by Representative Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts. So tell me, if you have any thoughts on that, I would like to hear them. Bill HR.40 and 40 Acres and a Mule. Those two subject matters, I think, go hand in hand. Okay. Talk to you later. Have a good night.